get zero at the table, man, all kinds of shit breaks loose.
Pick me.
Zero's at the table, you gotta be careful. Tons of shit breaks loose, baby.
Greetings, humans, and welcome back. I'm Joey Pigtails, and this is vlog 25, coming to you from Orange City Racing and Card Club, recorded on Monday, September 2nd, during the Big Ass High Hand promotion that runs here every couple of months. For those of you unaware, they give away $5,000 every 4 hours to the highest hand and reset it if someone hits a royal. This is in addition to the normal high hand promotion. You'll notice the footage in the background. Orange City recently opened the expansion, making room for more tables and allowing them to run larger tournaments, which I'll be discussing after the hands. It looks nice so far, and the cool thing is that they added a couple more restrooms, which is huge in my book. I know how much of you all enjoy double board bomb pots. This vlog has a few of these that ended up being absolutely massive, as well as a couple complicated situations from normal 4-card PLO. So yeah, if you need a fix, I got it, baby. One more thing. If you all enjoy seeing these vlogs and following along with my journey, your support is needed. I'm not monetized yet, and producing this content takes a lot of time and energy, so a like, subscribe, and comment goes a long way to helping me out. And if you happen to be playing PLO at a casino, mentioning my vlog at the table or asking if they've seen it also helps spread the word. Alright, this vlog starts off with some real bangers, so strap yourselves in. We're kicking this vlog off with a bomb pot, and what an interesting spot this was. We're six-handed on flops of 3, 6, 2, 2 spades on top, and 8, ace, king, 2 spades on bottom. I have nothing but some gut shots, so I check with everyone else to some turn cards, of the 5 of diamonds on top, and the queen of clubs in the bottom. This is interesting as we have number 2 on top and the nut straight on the bottom, although you'll notice that the bottom board is quite wet. The small blind now pots it for $90, and this is a spot where we can raise, but besides the bottom board being wet, it is highly likely that someone else has the same straight on bottom since none of those cards exist on either board, and I'm not nutted on top, so I could potentially get quartered if the boards don't change, or get stacked if they do. That being said, I'm never folding this hand in this spot, and there are a bunch of people behind, so I elect to call and see what develops, as we don't want to discourage more action. One other player who doesn't have much more behind makes the call as well, and we're off to the river cards of the king of spades on top, which changes nothing there, but the 8 of hearts on bottom, everything changes. My opponent who potted the turn now insta-pots the river, and I'm now left in a spot. It took me some time to think about this, and it ultimately came down to a couple of things. At this river junction, it's hard for this player to be ahead of me on both boards, and since the third player only has a tiny amount behind, I go ahead and stick in the call, hoping I'm not getting quartered or stacked for the main pot. Our primary villain turned the same nut straight on bottom with me, but he doesn't have anything on top, meaning I'm taking 3/4 of the side pot. The small stack player has the same straight on top that I do, but nothing on bottom, so I end up getting half of the main pot as well. Oh yeah. An orbit later we have another dealer change, so we have another bomb pot, where I flop a number 2 flush draw and a gut shot on top, and top 2 pair on the bottom. It's checked around to me. How do you all feel about betting here? What's sizing? I end up checking, but in hindsight, a bet might be best. With the turn cards of the queen of hearts on top and the 8 of hearts on bottom, we see the big blind jam for $90, and it's folded around to me. If there was a bunch of action, I might actually fold here, but I put in the shrug call since Charlie on my left looks uninterested. We see the river cards where I go unimproved, but my 1 pair on top and 2 pair on bottom are good enough to win this entire pot. The opponent turned big draws and ended up bricking out. Another bomb pot? And double suited aces to boot? Nice. This time I'm in the small blind. The top board I flop a gut shot and backdoor flush draws, but on the bottom board I see an ace and get pretty excited. I bet $50 into 105 looking for lots of action, and sure enough, I get 4 calls. With seeing a second heart show up on both boards in the turn, I'm now in a spot where I can potentially scoop this entire pot. I lead for pot, Charlie on my left makes the call, and the button also calls off for less. On the river, I end up making the nut flush on the bottom board, but I brick the top. Charlie ends up winning the top board with 2 pair, and we chop this one up. The last big hand I played, I punted $600 with aces. It was painful to review, so I left it out. Just know we all still do it from time to time. Now, I'm in for buy-in number 2 and looking to rebuild my stack. This is admittedly a fold pre-flop, but you know, there's a button straddle from Charlie, a bunch of limps, and I limp 2. Then Charlie pots it to 60. There's an all-in for 35, and 3 of us call the $60 bet. The flop is Queen 10-5 Rainbow, giving me top pair and open-ended on the bottom side. It's check to me, and I go ahead and check as well, and Charlie does too. The turn is the 10 of spades, which is not ideal, and it gets checked through again. The river is the 8 of clubs, and when checked to, I go ahead and bet 75 and get 1 call from Charlie, who ends up having the same straight that I do, and we go ahead and chop this one up. These bomb pots just keep coming. It's one of the reasons I love Orange City so much. We're off to 2 flops of 10-4-2 Rainbow and Ace-King-3 Rainbow. I've got a gut shot on top and bottom set on bottom. We see a bet of $30 and a call, and I elect to go ahead and pot it to 225. In hindsight, I'm not sure what I was thinking. I'm never getting better to fold on the board I'm strong on, and I just have a gut shot on top, so this bet doesn't really serve any purpose but to make worse fold and find out who has us beat while sticking a huge portion of our stack in there. Charlie makes the call, seat 3 calls too, seat 4 is all in now for less, and now seat 7 is also all in for less. Well then, I'm definitely ahead here, right? Help me channel some positive energy and hit that like button real quick. Alright, the turn on top is the 4 of diamonds, which doesn't help at all. But wait a minute, is that the 3 of hearts on the bottom? It worked! The poker gods heard you! Thanks for that. I bet my last 140, which both remaining players call. The rivers are a 6 on top and a 2 on the bottom, and the last 2 players check. I let them know I have the bottom board, and I hit a miracle here as Charlie flopped a set of aces on that board. Oh man. I see a couple of limps before I open this top tier ace-ace combo to $30, which as expected sees 5 calls. To a flop of 10-2 Jack Rainbow. Not exactly ideal, but I've got top pair, an overpair, and 2 backdoor draws, as well as position to most of the field. It's checked around to Charlie on the button, who bets 65 into 180, which sees 2 calls, and I go ahead and make the call too, looking to evaluate. With the queen of clubs on the turn, I now pick up a nut flush draw and a gutter ball, but more importantly, I pick up the perfect bluff card. Remember, I was the RFI pre-flop, which means I have ace-ace in my range, which I also happen to have now, and the story I've told so far could very well include ace-king that called closing action, getting 4 million to 1 on the flop. When it's checked around to me, I go ahead and spring my trap and jam all in for $405 as a bluff, and thankfully the other players believe my story. The next hand we see a limp fest before Charlie makes it 15. There's 2 calls before Friday in the big blind now pots it to $90, and just Charlie and I make the call. Before the dealer puts out the flop, I flash him my hands so that he knows what I need to hit, and I ask him to flop me a set. On a flop of 4-9-6 Rainbow, I get exactly what I asked for on a somewhat wet board, but should be ahead here most of the time. I bet pot, Charlie now jams, Friday folds, and I go ahead and make the call, of course. The board runs out 10 of spades and the 2 of clubs, and I fade the right cards to pick this pot up, as Charlie had 2 pair and a lower straight draw, but he didn't improve. Here's a premium hand. While I'd like the gap to be on the bottom, this is a really strong hand with a lot of equity. Friday can't seem to help himself, and he opens to $20. He's been really active today in pushing action, so it's no surprise that 4 of us come along to a flop of Ace-6-9 Rainbow. I flop the top side of a wrap, a pair, and some backdoor flush draws. Friday leads for 65, Harry makes the call, and I go ahead and call too. Charlie gets out of the way. The turn is the 3 of clubs giving me that backdoor flush equity, and it's checked around. How do you feel about a bet here? I have a bunch of equity and position, not to mention a huge stack of chips behind. The river is the king of clubs bringing in that backdoor flush, and it's checked to me again. I can't see a worse hand calling a bet here, so I go ahead and check it back and take this one down. Maybe that's the wrong mindset. Maybe I need to switch that up a little bit and go ahead and bet something for some sort of value. Getting raised in that spot would really suck, but I think that something better, like a better flush, is actually going to lead there. So, what do you think? I'm in the big blind this hand, and I see a limp fest in front of me. I also happen to have 4 cards, so I'm not going to be folding any combination for $3 more. With a flop of Ace-10-9-2 hearts, I've got a double gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, but a couple of those outs are dirty, so I check, and it's checked around. With the 6 of diamonds on the turn, I now have a pair and a flush draw to go with my double gut shots, so I bet $20 and I end up seeing 2 calls. I tell the table I'm thinking of a card, and it's always cool when the dealer and I are on the same page. He rips the king of diamonds out there giving me the nut flush, so I bet $50 rather quickly, hoping it looks bluffy, and luckily Harry has the jack high flush and pays me off. Although seeing that, I probably should have went ahead and bet full pot. The very next hand, there's 2 limps. I limp from the small blind, and Charlie makes it $15 from the big blind, which sees us all make the call. With a flop of 2, 4, 3, 2 clubs, I've got top 2 pair, but this isn't that strong. Charlie and I both check, and seed 4 now bets $35. Seed 8 makes the call, and I also call to evaluate. The turn is the queen of clubs, and this is a great card to fire here on a bluff. But I decide to check in real time, and it gets checked around to the 4 of hearts on the river, filling me up. I go ahead and bet $75 for value, targeting king and jack high flushes that may have checked the turn back, as well as pocket 2s or the last combo of 3-3, but everyone ends up folding. Feels good to pull out a win this session. Yes, I had a few suckouts and miracles in there, but I also managed to get some good value in a variety of situations, so this was a huge confidence boost having booked this win. Let's talk about Orange City's tournament schedule, which starts tomorrow. You can see the schedule here. While it is filled with a lot of no-limit hold'em tournaments, there are 2 mixed game events, including the $300 4-card PLO event on Thursday the 26th, which is tomorrow, and the $300 3-game mix, which is 4-card PLO high, 08, which is 4-card PLO high-low, and Big O, which is 5-card high-low, which is happening on Friday. I was really surprised at the big turnout for the 3-game mix at the Moneymaker Tour, so hopefully that trend continues with these mixed game events. There's also a whole slew of no-limit hold'em events, including the opening $400 100K guarantee and the $1,100 main event if 2-card bingo is your thing. I may fire the first event, but it's going to depend on a few things, including the other games I play locally. Thanks for stopping by and spending some time with me. I'm Joey Pigtails, and I am transparent, reminding you to be a good human. Bye!